Despite many thinking we could see the Nature Boy in AEW after he left WWE, Ric Flair would be surrounded by controversy due to the Plane Ride from Hell documentary. Not only that, Flair has given opinions on his podcast that fans don't appreciate, like him saying Bryan Danielson's in-ring skills are okay. Now, Jim Cornette has addressed those comments, saying this on his podcast. He might want to make Triple H happy, because they are friends, or used to be friends, is why he would say that about Bryan Danielson. Why would someone like Ric Flair, that in any other lifetime would not wipe his feet on Kenny Omega after what he has done? And suddenly, it is because of his match with the prospective son-in-law, where he's hoping that Kenny Omega would get him into AEW because he's the EVP despite the bad publicity? Why would you make such an outrageous statement when people themselves can see that Danielson is so many levels ahead of Omega? Seen as one of the biggest stars in pro wrestling, Stone Cold Steve Austin could be getting ready to make a comeback. According to WrestleVotes, talked to a few different sources this weekend and heard the same thing. WWE is very interested in having Steve Austin as a part of WrestleMania this year in Dallas. Not in a wrestling role, but a meaningful part of the event outside of just appearing, up to creative at this point. For the past few months, fans have been turning on Cody, with them calling him names and even throwing his weight belt back at him. On Keeping It 100, Disco Inferno criticized Rhodes for forcing himself on fans as a babyface. Conan and I believe that he does come across kind of on TV as off-putting, and the fact that he is essentially trying to force himself as a babyface on everybody's throat is genuinely off-putting to the fans. I think we would all agree that Cody maybe takes himself too seriously, but he really should be a heel right now. After losing to Charlotte Flair and having her doll destroyed at Extreme Rules, Alexa Bliss has been absent from programming. While she has hinted at a return, former WWE writer Vince Russo told Dr. Featherstone that WWE's booking of Bliss has taken a toll on her credibility. The unfortunate thing is WWE, they just put their talent in bad spots. This is because what will happen is you are going to lose faith with the fans. Alexa Bliss had the talk show, then she had the thing with Nikki Cross, then she had the thing with Bray Wyatt. Now she will return and there is no telling what is planned for her, and that's the problem. Speaking of COVID protocols, Meltzer also touched on the possibility of WWE returning to the Thunderdome if the state of Florida rolls out any mandates. I think they're both going to be pretty confident that Florida will not issue any mandates under any circumstance. Obviously, AEW can go back to Jacksonville and WWE can go back to someplace in Florida. You can always do the Performance Center. The problem is that if you put Raw and SmackDown in front of 300 people again, those numbers will crater. So it's a bad situation and AEW's numbers will hurt too. I don't know if they'll crater as well. They did okay numbers in Jacksonville. Obviously, if there's no other choice, then yeah, we can go through that again. The Thunderdome thing, I mean, they did better in the Thunderdome than the Performance Center, so I think that in that sense, WWE could look at a Thunderdome again and try to take residency in a building, but it's hard, because I guess you could do the baseball stadium, because baseball isn't starting for months, so I guess they'll go to Tampa Baseball Stadium and set up. Steve Carrier of Ringside News would confirm this rumor as he wrote, "There's a report going around that WWE could go back to the Thunderdome if they can't tour. We asked around about this and a Thunderdome return is possible, but so are many other options. At this point, there are a lot of contingency plans that are being discussed." When it comes to hiring men in WWE, the company is looking for those that are tall and have athletic backgrounds. Now, it's been noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that for the women, WWE wants them to have a unique look. The idea for women and guys is different. For guys, they're wanting bigger athletes. For women, it's looks. Or if you have something unique to offer. Even on the indie thing. If someone's like really super on the indies, it's not like WWE won't hire them. But they're not looking at the 5'9 guys or the 5'7 guys anymore. If you come from the indies but you're 6'3", yeah, they'll look at you. And if you're a woman and you're good looking, you know, whatever. WWE has signed 15 college athletes under their name, image, and likeness program, as it'll be interesting to see the company build new talent for the future. Following his loss of the WWE title to Big E, Bobby Lashley would then end up losing to Goldberg at Crown Jewel in October. Now he's returned to action and looks set to challenge for the title again in January. According to Meltzer, WWE is planning to turn Lashley into a babyface. If you watch the show, you certainly get the impression that Bobby Lashley is going babyface. They played a total babyface video package for him at the pay-per-view, yeah. So I mean, it's been feeling like that's been in the cards, and then he has to beat 3 guys to get into the Day 1 WWE title match. I mean, that's a total babyface move. At Day 1, Lashley will take on Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, and the champion Big E for the WWE title. While he has only recently become the WWE Champion, Big E told The Sun that he originally intended on retiring from pro wrestling at his current age. "I've got a few more years left in me. I don't really know when that time will be, but when you're 23, 35 feels like it's ages from now, and that you'll be an old man and beat up. So 35 felt, at that time, a good time to get out, and I don't want to overstay my welcome. I was talking to one of our refs, Rod Zapata, and I've known him since I got to FCW, so I've known him for 12 years. We've talked about how I'd spoken about getting out at 35, but I think in many ways a lot of wrestlers' primes are like 35-40. We're seeing Bobby Lashley having his best run in his mid-40s. We have so many guys now: Randy Orton, AJ Styles, Kofi Kingston, Bobby Roode, Dolph Ziggler, so many guys in their 40s performing at such a high level. They look great and are aging well, so I don't know if I'm going to wrestle into my 40s, as I always told myself that I would make sure I was out before then, but my body feels great. In the ring, I feel leaner and my cardio is getting better. There's so much about where I'm at physically that I'm really appreciating. So if my body holds up, I'm feeling good and it makes sense, then we'll keep going for a few more years." With it recently noted that WWE will be including many recently released stars in their upcoming 2K video game, a report came out about CM Punk not being in the games anymore. While it seems obvious since he hasn't worked for the company in years, Forbes would note that there is deep resentment for Punk, as this was said about him possibly being added to the game. It would have to be the sort of discord that is had between CM Punk and WWE, whom I'm told by someone with strong connections to the situation will almost never be in a WWE game. One source said the powers that be hate him. On Raw, the team of AJ Styles and Omos finally imploded, with the big man refusing to tag in when AJ needed help. This meant the two got physical and are now set to go one-on-one next week. WrestleVotes has stated there are big plans for this angle. It felt like they sped up the Omos and AJ Styles split. It's because they did. Sources say both superstars have significant plans in early 2022, and wanted any type of blow-off program done prior to the major Rumble and Mania events. Happy Corbin has been going through many character changes in recent memory. Given he is one of the biggest heels in the company, it comes as no surprise that he was the one to take out Becky Lynch with his finishing move. This happened during the feud between Corbin and Lacey Evans and Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. On the Added Character podcast, Corbin revealed the backlash after hitting Becky with his move. "When I hit Becky with the End of Days, I was getting death threats on a regular basis. 95% of critics on the internet are safely behind somewhere they can't be accessed." Roman said it the best one time, that he's never met a hater in real life. That's the same kind of thing with me. With WWE previously scheduled to hold events in Canada next week, it seems many superstars and crew members reportedly were exhausted after a weeks-long marathon of live events and TV tapings. Now it's been noted that many have tested positive. PW Insider has learned from multiple sources that coming out of this past week's loop of live events and TV tapings, a number of talents and staff were feeling run down, and some have since tested positive for COVID, while others who were feeling sick are still waiting for their test results to return. Now it's been noted that the WWE Laval House show is postponed to Sunday, March 6, 2022, still at the Bell Place. All tickets from the December 30th date will be honored at a new show. With AJ Styles showing up on NXT 2.0 to confront Grayson Waller, fans have taken to Twitter to put WWE on blast for this. As one fan wrote, AJ Styles looks pretty sad. Amazing talent, wearing just a black tee with his career not doing much in over a year. Man, sad to see this happening to him. Another said, they trying to push this Waller guy to the moon, even bringing in AJ Styles to make him relevant. I just don't see anything in him. He's just annoying. And one user noted, fans on NXT 2.0, this isn't wrestling. There's nothing on the show to make me watch. So mad. WWE, okay, how about we send AJ Styles down to NXT 2.0 for a bit? Fans, OMG, so desperate for ratings, so sad. Given the news of Kyle O'Reilly's and Johnny Gargano's WWE contracts running out, many were wondering when we could see them in action again. Well, O'Reilly has made his return to pro wrestling, debuting for AEW on Dynamite during Adam Cole's match against Orange Cassidy, where Kyle snuck up on and took out Cassidy for Cole to pick up the win. After the show, O'Reilly took to Twitter writing, "Life is crazy and I'm very grateful that my professional wrestling abilities have taken me to a new frontier in which to explore my ass-kicking ways. Proud to be a part of AEW and thanks to Tony Khan for the opportunity. If you're a fan of mine from elsewhere, I hope you continue to support me. If you're new to KOR, prepare to see a man that pours his effing soul into that ring every night and has an unquenchable thirst for cans of whoop ass. Also, Red Dragon is back." Adam Cole would also react with a picture noting the game has changed. Speaking of Gargano, Dave Meltzer would note on Wrestling Observer Radio that he could be making his debut for AEW soon. As more time goes on, I have this feeling that Gargano will debut in Cleveland. That would be the right night to do it, right? It's I think maybe late January, maybe January 26th. I don't know 100% that he's going, but he's talking about wanting to wrestle Kenny Omega. It's things he said both publicly and privately. I know he's heavily considering it. With Gargano apparently having no non-compete clause, this hometown debut certainly seems like a possibility. Fans are excited to have CM Punk in AEW, especially given his current feud with MJF. On PW Torch, Wade Keller noted that Punk is keeping to himself backstage. Punk is isolating himself in AEW in the sense that he has his own locker room. Cody has his own locker room. Bryan Danielson, by the way, changes with everyone else. He doesn't have his own locker room. Punk does have his own locker room. Now, for whatever it's worth, so does Darby. Some people just want to be with themselves and other people are more social, and Punk has long established that. Speaking of the feud between Punk and MJF, Keller would note that despite all the verbal jousting on screen, it seems like Punk has been totally cool with everything, like showing no signs that MJF went too far, and that MJF and Punk seem to get along well behind the scenes when people see them together planning their segments, so it doesn't seem like there's any tension at all. On Dynamite, Nyla Rose would be on the receiving end of a loss at the hands of Ruby Soho. That was not all, as she had to deal with a fan holding up a sign which appears to say Nyla Rose is that guy's dad with an arrow. Nyla would flip off that fan, with that person apparently in attendance being removed from the arena. As Fightful reported, I'm told the fan at AEW Dynamite with the shitty signs was removed. Wrestle Voice 1 would add, he was removed. They had to track him down, but when they got him, he was emphatically removed from the building. Rose would have support from her wife, as another user replied. Nyla Rose flips off the rude transphobe, wrestles a fantastic match, and goes back home to her loving wife, sick Twitch stream and wrestling fame. That's the energy we need in this world. Speaking of Nyla, a user on Twitter apparently had something to say to the star, which she did not take well, replying in a since-deleted post, "You tweeting out needless hateful shit like this and you wonder why God put you in a wheelchair. Keep on rolling, brother." After Dark Side of the Ring's Plane Ride from Hell documentary came out, Ric Flair was on the receiving end of backlash as many urged AEW to not hire the wrestling legend. While the Nature Boy lost some opportunities and endorsement deals from this mess, the Wrestling Observer newsletter has noted that Flair has been bringing in a lot of money. For a time, it appeared that Ric Flair was done as far as marketing goes from the fallout of the Plane Ride from Hell show on Vice. He apparently was filming an energy drink commercial this past week and has been back doing autograph signings. One promoter who Flair canceled out of this past week noted that the advance orders for him were over $10,000 when he pulled out. Former WNBA star Lash Legend had her in-ring debut match for WWE air on 205 Live on the 17th. While this should have been a big moment for Lash, Dave Meltzer would note that this bout did not go according to plan. I didn't see the match, but within the company and outside there was a ton of talk about the debut of Lash Legend, which aired on December 17th, 205 Live show in a match against Sarray, who would have been one of the most experienced women on the NXT roster. Even not seeing it there would be a huge size difference. Those who just saw the match on 205 Live noted how it may have been the worst match on a WWE broadcast this year, and it was back to ripping on the trainers and such. From internal sources, we were told it was one of the most edited matches before it aired, and it was described that they cut it down to 3 minutes of highlights, and it in that form was still the worst TV match for WWE this year. Legend would be the most accomplished woman athlete on the roster by a wide margin, although that doesn't mean her athleticism as a WNBA player, although short-lived, and college basketball star transfers to pro wrestling like the athleticism of a Belair or a Flair. Back in October, Rhea Ripley would note that her gear bag was lost, which contained her women's tag team belt. In the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it was noted that a fan tried to sell her belongings online. The person who evidently stole Ripley's bag when she was on tour in Albuquerque in October, which included her women's tag team title belt. There are multiple copies and they use different belts for the house shows than a television. Evidently tried to sell it on social media, both the bag and the title belt. When it was clear people figured out it was Ripley's stolen property, he stopped responding to messages. With AEW on the scene in the wrestling business, this has created a rift between fans and even talent in some cases between the new promotion and WWE. Touching on this topic, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful refuted a previous report from F4W Online that stated WWE wrestlers saw AEW as a second-rate show. No, I have not heard any talent. I talk to a ton of talent every single day and I never hear that. I never experience that. I hear it a lot with management and people in the office and stuff, but I never hear it with talent. After losing the AEW title to Hangman Page, Kenny Omega is expected to take time away from the ring depth surgeries and heal from injuries. When it comes to making a comeback, Dave Meltzer provided a quick update, noting at this point there is no firm timetable for Kenny Omega's return. With many celebrities selling their properties, the WWE chairman is no exception. Wrestle Purist recently noted that Vince McMahon's mansion in Greenwich, Connecticut is for sale for the price of $32 million. It's a 23,700 square foot home with 6 bedrooms, 12 bathrooms, and a garage that fits 8 cars. If you want to know more about the property, you can go to compass.com for additional details. After trending on Twitter from fans thinking she broke up Sammy Guevara's engagement, Ty Conti has now issued a statement on Instagram. Hi friends, I had to take some time off social media because I was reading some unnecessary comments. My personal life is no one's business, and no one has the right to create false rumors and harass me for something that wasn't my fault. When I look at the mirror, I'm happy to see who I am, and I'm proud of myself. If you like my career, great, you can stay, but if you don't, just leave. One thing is for sure, haters will not take my happiness away. I'm living my best life and bringing happiness to the people that enjoy my work. For those who shared love, I can't thank you enough. Know that I do appreciate and love y'all. I'll keep going no matter what. Now let's go. I need to work out, period. For Dark Side of the Ring's Plane Ride from Hell special, Tommy Dreamer was one of the wrestlers interviewed where he downplayed and defended Ric Flair. This led to him being dragged online and suspended from Impact Wrestling. Dreamer would apologize for his comments, as now Fightful has reported that he was gone for just over a month's worth of TV tapings for the promotion. Apparently, there is a feeling within the company that the punishment fit the offense, so he's back with Impact. As WWE looks to hold their Day 1 pay-per-view on the 1st, there could be one less bout on that card. On Raw this week, Matt Riddle was not present, and with reports of several talent testing positive for COVID, there's concern he could miss that show. It was said in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that the original idea was Riddle and Randy Orton defending the tag titles against the winners of a tournament that came down to Rey and Dominic Mysterio versus the Street Profits. The match was to be on December 13th Raw, but Montez Ford has been unavailable for the past 2 weeks, and the match was announced for December 27th in Detroit, but at press time the match was no longer being advertised. At press time we were told it is unclear if that match will happen or not. Following charges against him being dropped related to his ex-fiancée Alberto Del Rio recently spoke to his PR manager Michael Morales and had some harsh words for his other ex, Paige. The people who have wanted to damage me have been left behind. I don't focus anymore on that. I can't hold on to grudges. I don't have any interest in countering them, but if I wanted to in my hands, I have the power to take Paige out of her job in 2 seconds. I can bring out one of her videos of domestic violence and she would not go back to work. I don't have any interest in that. I continue to thank God that Paige broke the confidentiality agreement that we had. Today I am the one who can expose her and show the world who she is if she messes with me. I want my life in peace. I don't want anything about me on the internet. I don't want anyone talking. Paige can stay calm, and no one will see your videos kicking my face and neck. That stays forgotten if you don't talk about me. Triple H has been away from his duties on NXT to recover from a heart procedure, so Shawn Michaels has taken charge. While it's been tough adjusting to NXT 2.0, Michaels talked about how quickly they turned around from the black and gold NXT to this new iteration. I think the biggest thing was that I didn't know I was going to be the one having to do everything. I was going to hopefully assist Hunter and put into place what he wanted us to put into place. It came a bit quick, obviously. For the last 35 years that I've been with WWE, when they make a decision, it's done, it's quick. They are so efficient, so quick, and they don't just sit around and wait. I think that was probably the biggest adjustment. I think we had probably 3 weeks and we didn't have a whole lot of information. By the time we got the info, it was coming down by the last week and we went ahead and applied everything that we could. It's fun. It's a nervous excitement. You don't really know what to expect, but you're looking at something where there's no roadmap to doing it, so you have to try and figure it out. I still enjoy that kind of stuff. Hunter and I, much like the DX days, we went out there not having any idea what we were gonna do. We were just gonna go out there and have fun and enjoy doing it. That's how this kind of started from the get-go. It would have been a lot easier had he been there the entire time to assist, that's for sure. Michaels would also reveal how Triple H has been doing following his health scare and absence, revealing that a lighter workload is better for him. Most of it is me bothering him, to be perfectly honest. He has worked so much over the last several years, and I don't think he understood that it becomes your normal. For him to step away for a little bit, look, that takes getting used to. I went through it, obviously. I'm one of the rare people that was ready to do it and embrace it, but when it just happens out of the blue and you're not expecting it, for him to go 100 miles per hour to nothing was an adjustment. But I think he is, especially around this time of year, he's now starting to realize like, hey, this isn't too bad. I think he's bordering enjoying himself now, to be perfectly honest. It's a well-deserved break for him, for sure.